Well, hello friend, and welcome to another episode of Van Life Living in the Ark. I'll tell you, I've put out some prophecies here lately. Only one really that's been as of late, but I will tell you that the prophecies that I gave did hit. But I'm not a prophecy, guys. I'm God's messenger. I'm here to deliver you a message, especially in America. Now, you're not going to believe me. And, I've told you judgment's coming to America, that we are Mystery Babylon. So if you're a person that does not have faith in Christ, and you don't have oil for your lamp, and you have no intentions on getting any, you should not listen to my videos. I'm only here to help those that want to help themselves, because I can't do it for you. You're going to have to do it for yourself, but I'm telling you what to do and why to do it, and I've been telling you in video after video. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about psychology and the way this works. Because there's a reason that Jesus told you that at the end of the age, 10 brides were going to wake up, 5 would have enough oil, 5 wouldn't. He's gave you all these prophecies and told you the truth so that you could know what was going on. This is why you have to wake up. Because there's things going on. And I've been telling you, and I've been spreading them out, but since I gave that prophecy, and it does appear that we're on a 40-day countdown till Pentecost from the mark of that eclipse, I'm just giving you some outright truth here, friend. And I'm not saying that you got to share my videos. I've never told you to share and like my videos and do all that stuff, right? But I do recommend you tell your friends that something's coming. And I'm going to tell you how to know that, But first, I'm going to give you the psychology on why it is I'm telling you. And also, I've told you, here's my crazy truth. I am the wilderness goat of Yom Kippur. Now, that sounds insane, which makes me the spirit of Judas, because Jesus and Judas created Yom Kippur. Most of y'all don't know that because he hid it. Jesus dipped his bread, which was his body, into his blood, which was his wine, and he handed it to Judas. And when he handed it to Judas, it said Satan entered into him because Satan wasn't there to begin with. Then Judas said, "Not me, Lord." And Jesus said, "Go do what you must do." He cast him from the lot. He cast him into the wilderness. So what he was doing was he was creating Yom Kippur. If you go look at Yom Kippur, you'll see that it was required 2 clean goats for a sacrifice. Jesus blamed Judas not because he was angry at Judas, but because by the law, Christ would have had to judge the Jewish people and would have killed them when he came to save them. So if you go and look in Scripture, you're going to see that there were more troops entering into Israel. Even history books have this stuff, friend. And then Barabbas was in jail for killing in an uprising. So Rome was going to cut off the dead branch called Israel. Whenever they took over a country and they become unproductive, unfruitful, a dead limb, well then they would cut it off and keep the real estate, which means they'd have just murdered off the Jews. And my father has a promise to keep to Abraham. So if they would have murdered almost all the Jews off, what would have been left with the bloodline would have been lost. My father made Abraham a promise to maintain his bloodline. But my father made that promise to Abraham for himself. It allows him to make judgments and give you free will all at the same time. So it gives him the right to override our free will in times like these when America's making really bad decisions. And so there was 2 times in history that are going to affect the promise to Abraham. And it doesn't matter. I can't prove to you that we were going to affect it. All I can tell you is that in the future, if my father doesn't make a judgment on Mystery Babylon, then we'll end up destroying Israel. Doesn't matter whether it's China and America in a nuclear war. Understand that because we keep making bad decisions, there's consequences to our actions, and God is not going to allow us to do that. So he doesn't show me everything. He just shows me a lot, and I'm going to go through a lot of it with you today. But I first want you to understand psychology and why it is that you have to be woken up. Everybody's been calling people that are waking up paranoid conspiracy theorists. However, people are waking up at a much larger level, and it's getting to a tipping point. It's coming to the point where people see that there's something going on. The majority of Americans recognize that there's something really not right, and they can't put their finger on it, and people are doing things that don't make sense because it's not in the best interest of our country or the citizens, right? So now, even those of you that didn't want to wake up, that have been doing your best not to wake up, are starting to wake up. Here's the problem. I want you to understand psychology. When you become afraid, you think in your frontal cortex, right? So when you become afraid, it sends you to your amygdala. The amygdala is where you have the fight or flight mode. So when you get in fight or flight mode, you literally kind of freeze and make a decision. Am I going to run for it, or am I going to attack my opponent, right? So you're going to have to decide to flee or fight. That's what happens when you switch to the amygdala. Well, people, because of their fear, won't look at things that are going on, because the moment you go there, you no longer think in your frontal cortex. Christ gave you the ability to do it. The average person doesn't have this ability. They're taught in the military how to do it. They're taught how to think while afraid, but the average citizen is not. How y'all doing?
Wonderful. Yourself?
Beautiful day out here today.
Surely is.
So, people don't know how to overcome fear, and they end up in fight and flight mode, and there's only two people that know how to overcome that. One is trained military, and the second is Christians. Because Jesus taught you how to do this if you did the things he asked. If you did not do the things he asked, you did not have oil for your lamp, and you are going to be terrified when this all hits. So what I'm asking you to do is, if you're a person that believes in Jesus, I'm asking you to go read Jesus and do the things he asked. I'm telling you this in advance for a reason. It doesn't matter whether May 19th on the Pentecost day, and I know it's not lined up with the biblical one, but it is lined up with your Easter. And understand, God's talking to a Christian nation that is more paganism than it is Christian, and Christians don't even have a clue about the law and that they were supposed to abide in it. So there's a lot going on because the Pharisees have lied to you. You know, I'm always on here calling them out for their lies. This is why, because I need you to wake up, but I need you to do so in an orderly fashion, right? Because we're going to need to love one another, or we're going to become afraid, and when we do, people that you thought were your friend, you're going to find out are not your friend. They were quite capable of being loving, including the people in your church, as long as things were going their way. The moment there's one can of beans and 5 people wanting to eat it, all of a sudden, they're going to be your foe, not your friend. Because fear is going to do that. So I've been talking because I'm trying to get the Christians to wake up in advance to what's coming. Because now I'm going to give you some of what's coming. And I can't tell you which one of these things it is, friend. My father doesn't tell me. You've got people rushing across the border. We are engaging in multiple nations, creating many enemies. So you have terrorists coming across that border. If you want to deny the fact that some of the people that are crossing that border aren't terrorists, well then you're not ready to wake up, and you probably ought not listen to the rest of this, because it's going to get nothing but scarier for here. So if you're afraid of that, it's time to hang up the video. Because I'm here to try to get people to think about what they're thinking about, so that you can be in the spirit of love instead of the spirit of fear, which will lead you to the spirit of selfishness, which will cause us all more great suffering. So we're going to need people that are going to be able to become willing to die in order to live, just as Christ said. That's the reason my father made me promise my death before he gave me the truth that he gave me. Because I'm aware that because I'm talking to you, some of you are already getting scared just because you hear me. When that happens, it will be just like the Jews back in Jesus' day. They said it was better that one man die for the people than the whole nation perish. Someone's going to think that killing me might be doing God a favor. That is not the truth, and killing me won't help. My father's been doing this in a very organized fashion. I'm blind as a bat and don't know what he's doing, but as I go, I see what he's doing. And this seed has already been sown, friend. It's already too late. And it's not just me. There's a lot of people talking about the things that I'm talking about. They're just not talking about Jesus while they're doing it. I'm trying to get you to connect that Jesus is the secret to this, because he is. God is going to have to make a judgment because we won't judge ourselves. I just did a video that's titled Understanding the Trinity Visually. So I'm going to, if I don't put that in the bottom description of this video, please go watch that video. It's going to help you understand God and why he does what he does, if you're open-minded enough and you can hear in the Spirit. Right? Because God doesn't want this to all happen. It's what we keep choosing because we won't listen to what he said. He gave us 10 commandments to live by, and Jesus himself said, hang all the laws and the prophets on only 2 commandments, and one was like the other. And those 2 both were about love. They were about love thy neighbor, or the first one he said was to love thy father with all your heart, mind, and soul and strength, meaning God. And the other one, like it, he said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Because when you love your neighbor, it's showing you your love for your father. Because your father's in your neighbor and your neighbor's in your father, because my father's in everything and he's everywhere. And if you go watch that video, I will give this to you in a logical, much easier way to understand so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so you know that Mark Zuckerberg, if you're halfway awake, you know that all over the news stuff that's not the corporate news because they're hiding it. But if you do a lot of the other stuff, you now know that Mark Zuckerberg has built an underground ark, and he was doing it in secret, but somebody leaked the plans. I've for years now, for the last 4 years, I keep reposting, and it's in Clues to the Kingdom, and I've posted it on my Facebook page numerous times, the ark that they built underground out of missile silos. The corporate elite knew this was coming. If you recall, back in the early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, there was a TV program called Doomsday Shelters. So the people that had a lot of money were buying shelters that were getting built and put underground. So there's been people waking up years back, but some of you are just now waking up. We're beyond that kind of preparation time for most of y'all, right? I don't know what time it is. My father doesn't show me. I don't even want to know, to be quite honest with you. But he did show me that, you know, when I talk about that prophecy about Pentecost, May 19th, you got to understand that bridge that came down in the Baltimore Harbor was the Francis Scott Key Bridge. That was actually the man who wrote the national anthem, you know, the Star Spangled Banner. So then after that, the next thing that happened was New Jersey had the earthquake that was a 4.8 that shook the Statue of Liberty, which the 4.8 points to 4.8. 4.8 was the eclipse which passed over a town called Jonah and then 7 Ninevehs. It's screaming judgment. Then and it also had the devil's comment come with it, right? And then 40 days from then is Pentecost, according to Google and Siri. So I'm just telling you what I found. In fact, I posted it here on Facebook or on YouTube. I posted the photo of it, and I imagine I might do it at Facebook. People don't believe me. They think I'm crazy. I don't blame you, friend. I wouldn't want to believe me either. Okay, so even if that doesn't happen, you know that there's a civil war building between Democrats and Republicans and people that are afraid because they can see the government does not have their best interest at heart. They can see that they are trying to build a totalitarian system. They've already been building the walls. You're not seeing it. They just haven't slammed the door shut yet, right? So you can know that because the Patriot Act gives them the right to call American citizens terrorists and throw them in Guantanamo Bay or hold them without a trial. You understand that's even more evil than Rome was, right? So we've become more evil than the original Rome. Our television and our internet is their gladiator arenas where they keep our attention from being put on something real so that they can get away with what they're doing. And I'm not saying they know it's coming regardless. They don't build all these arcs for nothing, friend. I'm going to give you the outright geological truth here a little bit. I can't tell you much about Yellowstone, but I can tell you about a bunch of earthquakes that are coming. If you look at the Pacific Rim Fault, literally at an Indian nation out there in Washington, they have built a tsunami-proof, earthquake-proof tower because they know that, from history, friend, the geologists have this. If you're an atheist, you could figure this out. When the earthquake hits, they have 10 minutes. That tells them in 10 minutes at that particular place where they're at, the tsunami's going to hit. If they're not on their tower in 10 minutes, they drowned. They're dead. So they have built this in the middle of their reservation. And so where everybody can get to it. I don't know how it works. I just seen it I was watching a documentary being done by a geologist a while back. Underneath Missouri, you have the largest earthquake in the history of America, but it went off during the frontier times, and therefore you don't know how bad that is. But it's on the same time frame. It's somewhere in the next 50 years, according to the geologists that I've been listening to it. Since that earthquake in Virginia, they found out there's fault lines all over the place that you didn't understand. Understand, if my father decides to judge it himself through that way, he could take this nation down in a minute. We are built on sand, not on rock. And Canada is built on what's called the Canadian Shield, which is a solid rock base. So as we crumble, they will stand. It's just a fact, friend. America and Mexico are on two different tectonic plates. America's set up to be judged on its own. I don't want to tell you all this because somebody's going to want to kill me thinking they're doing God a favor. But if I don't tell you the truth, you're not going to be prepared. I need you to go get oil for your lamp. I need you to go read Jesus and do what Jesus asked. The purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience. But if we cannot stay in our frontal cortexes, we're going to all end up in our amygdalas. And when we do that, the killing's going to begin. My father showed me a future that I don't even want to tell you. So I don't really care whether you believe me. But if you don't believe the corporate elite are setting you up, you need to go to Yahoo Finance and look up the top 10 shareholders of all of your other corporations in America. Literally, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own all the other corporations. BlackRock has a false prophet called Aladdin, which is an AI that is predicting the future according to the financial market. They're out buying up your houses. This goes deep, friend, and you won't believe it unless you go look at it. You'll call me a paranoid conspiracy theorist. I'm giving you things you can look up on documentaries and go look up on Yahoo Finance. It's not just those three companies. There's several other ones that have bought up everything too. This dragon has many heads. And now, if you go look at BlackRock, and if you go look at the World Economic Forum's website, you will see that the director, the CEO, and the co-founder of BlackRock, which is Larry Fink, is on the board of the World Economic Forum. He's not running it because he doesn't want to be in the spotlight. Why, I don't know. 2 + 2 = 4. Something tells me this man is evil. There's no way an American would have done this to Americans and set us up the way they have. If you haven't figured it out, there's all kind of videos. The farmers in America are protesting that they are killing off all their farms. They're centralizing your food source. If they do that, they have control over you, and they're doing that with the digital money too. So understand that they have to get the squeeze on you. Once they get the squeeze on you, then you're done, because they have your food supply and everything. And then if it all goes wrong, they run for their arcs They hide underground while we murder each other off. You don't get how bad this is. I know you don't want to look at it. I don't want to be the one to tell you. Everybody always wants to shoot the messenger. But I made my Father a promise. I am your wilderness goat. I'm the one that's willing to put my blood above your door. Christ put his blood above the door of the Jewish people by going on that cross. Because he put all the blame on Judas, there was no judgment by the law. And therefore, Christ put his blood over top of their door. He reunited Israel and he reunited Rome. If you remember, it said Herod and Pilate became friends. It told you that crowd and the Pharisees all yelled, "We have no king but Caesar." Right? So he reunited a divide that was going to get the Israelite people murdered off, and the promise to Abraham would have been broken. Christ did open it up to you. Because he died, you have the right to put your thoughts before God. That's not a lie. I want you to start believing that. Spend time in your secret place. Read what Christ said and give your thoughts to my Father, knowing that if you've been baptized and that you have accepted him as your King and Savior, that you can put your thoughts before God without guilt. And anytime you make a mistake, you go to your secret place and you say, "Father, forgive me." After a while, you won't even need to go to your secret place. You'll start realizing the moment you do something wrong, and you'll say, "Father, forgive me." I don't have to wait till I'm out in my secret place anymore, friend. I was a person that was completely unaware of everything. I was sleeping more than most. I was selfish. I was ignorant. I was hurting people, and I didn't mean to. I didn't even know I was doing it. I bought into the selfishness that these corporations have sold us on. But we are the Valley of Gehenna. We are sacrificing our children on the altar to our corporate gods. There's just no lie to that. A publicly traded corporation is nothing but a set of laws on paper, right? And your stocks have become your bonds. You're blaming them for doing it, but you own them. You have created the system that is killing you. And now I don't know how to tell you to stop it. And my Father doesn't tell me to stop it. He tells me I'm to tell you that it's coming, and you can make your decisions, but understand this. Those of you that hide in your arks, he told you that they would not survive. This is all in Revelation. It told you that they would hide in their caves and pray for death, and death wouldn't come. Those caves are the underground arks they're building. My Father is not going to let them come up and steal his age. They would enslave us all when they're done. You get it. They've already got us enslaved for money. It's just going to get worse. And once they go sit in their arks for all that time, justifying why they did that to one another, if they came back up, they would justify that they were far greater than us, like gods, and we would be subhuman, and they would enslave us just like back in the days of old. Back in the beginning of America, when they used black and white to do all this stupid garbage called racism. That's ridiculous. It's all sickening. That was the reason they used racism, was because since they said alien rights, they had to separate us some way so that they could put a bunch of us in slavery. Stop blaming people for that. It's over. It's done. I'm a mutt, friend. I'm Indian. My people killed my own tribe, right? I'm an American, but I'm Native American because I'm Cherokee. I'm part Jewish. I'm English. I'm German. There's just nothing that I'm a mutt. I'm Irish. I'm a mutt. I'm not here to claim righteousness. There's nothing righteous about me. But I'm willing to stand up for the truth so that you may stand a shot at what's coming. So I want you to not run around trying to terrify people if you hear this video. That's not the point. This isn't to scare you. It's to let you know what's coming so that you can get prepared and start seeking the kingdom first, as Christ said. Christ told you the kingdom would not be said to be here or there, but the kingdom of God is within you. I have it within me. That's the reason I have the courage to stand. I don't have the courage to do this. My Father has it, and he gives it to me through the Son, through the Holy Spirit. He speaks for me. I don't know what to say. I don't want to say these things, but he told me I have to. because they are going to do what they're going to do, and my Father wants as many of you to enter his wedding as possible. And right now the wedding chamber isn't too full because everybody's choosing selfishness over love because the Pharisees have lied to you, and I've explained that to you in video after video. So it's time to go get to know your king. Your king gave you rules to the kingdom. If you don't abide in them, he will tell you, I don't know you. I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me. These are the truths Christ said. You call him a liar, he's not your king. He won't be your eternity against Satan at the end of the age. That's a fact. This is a biblical fact, and your Pharisees have lied to you about it. So I'm just being outright honest here, because you're going to either now make a choice. They themselves are creating a great divide. I'm only here to try to make the light rise before the darkness overcomes. They would prefer the darkness. They're trying to get rid of the thought of God because the thought of Christ gives man power. People like me won't exist if they get rid of the thought of Christ, because I am a coward. This is the power of Christ within me. The Holy Spirit dwells in me, and because I am in him, he is in me. Because I am in Christ, I am in my Father, and my Father's in me. My Father has all strength. I don't need any. Right? I don't have to think about where this is going. I don't have to think about what you're going to want to do to me. I don't have to think about whether God's going to let me die or not. It doesn't matter. I carry a white stone, and nobody knows it but myself. I'm telling you this out of the spirit of love, not out of the spirit of fear. I'm not trying to scare you. I've been burying this message in Jesus neck deep so that people won't hear it except for those that are really looking to get to know Jesus. But the hour's getting later and later, friend, and if somebody doesn't make a new choice, no blood above your door is going to help. You're all going to just go from frontal cortex to amygdala, and if you have the majority do that, there ain't no saving it. So we need to get people in their frontal cortex. We need to get people to be thinking, not scared. That comes from faith in Christ. Let's get this world set on fire for the love of Christ. That's what I want you to do. You don't do that by going out and scaring them with eternal hell, because that never made sense, and it was. You can listen to my other videos. I'll tell you all about that. Hell is, you aren't going to it, it's coming to you. You're going to pay your debt here, those that remain. And a lot of Christians are going to remain because they don't know the truth, because they were lied to. So I don't understand all that. I'm telling you what my Father tells me. I do tell you some things in some videos and not others. I can't give it all to you at once, friend. If you want to know bad enough, start looking. But don't believe me. Go believe Jesus and see if what I've been saying isn't what he said first. You'll see that he told you 10 brides were going to wake up, 5 weren't going to have enough oil, and 5 were. He explained this all out. I've laid it out step by step the way it's going to look. Because those of you that don't have oil, you're going to run to the store. That means, or you're going to go to the other brides. Those other brides are out feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and visiting the sick in prison. When you can't get a place there because God told them through Christ that a person that takes their hand off the plow is an unworthy servant. Therefore, they're not going to give up their spot. They're going to say, sorry friend, go to the store and get your own. You're going to have to go be creative on how to become in the spirit of love. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. You can help people a lot of different ways. But if you're not in the spirit of love, you need to get there. Even if right now you hearing me, you're kind of in the spirit of fear, start spending time in your secret place. Have faith in God. Start reading Christ. Do the things he said. Literally, do the things Christ said so that you can build your house on a rock. He told you to do that. They called him a liar. Don't listen to them. The Pharisees are liars and snakes. Period. They're telling you to get rich. They are snakes. They're paying twice the debt at the end of the age. I'm just not lying to you. My Father told you all this through Christ. He gave you the end in the beginning. The Euphrates River is drying up. The fig tree already sprouted leaves. It was done in a day, which would have been possible back in the day it was prophesied. There's a few different people that say they've discovered the ark, or 3 different. One says it's still where it was. A place in Ethiopia says they have it, and an American says that they have it. So I don't know about the ark being found, but I can tell you they found Sodom and Gomorrah. I've posted video on that. There's a lot of stuff going on. They found a lot of biblical stuff. They've got plenty of proof proving that Bible's real. They've got writings from other countries that talk about the kings of Israel. Everything. The biblical stories are panning out, friend. If you're an atheist and you didn't believe, you ought to start looking. You ought to start deciding who you're going to have faith in. Because if you have faith in nothing, you're going to have no faith. I suggest you find some faith in a thing called Christ. Because my Father is. And because He is, He creates. But in order to create a world like this, He has to create a thought of what is not yet is. That is called the thought of Satan. And it is selfishness. And when you choose selfishness over love, you pay selfishness' debt. Now's the time to get to know Christ and understand what He was saying and what He was doing. As you can see, if you know Christ at all, you're hearing a lot of things I'm saying that are what Christ said. He didn't put them together. The Holy Spirit was supposed to testify to you about Him. If you do not have the Holy Spirit testifying to you about Him, it's probably because you don't know Him well enough. Or my Father was keeping you for this hour. Friend, my father, I tried to get woke up way in advance, and he kept not waking me up. I kept letting the demons return because I couldn't understand anything. All these churches were telling me lies, and I could see what they were saying wasn't what Jesus said, but I couldn't understand what Jesus said. My Father held me for the time that He needed me. I accept that. It is what it is. So here I am, once again, giving you a video that's going to upset people that call me a liar and a false prophet and a snake. But you know what? Any of you that do that and don't actually go look at the things I've told you, you're a coward and you're a snake, and you should be ashamed of yourself because you're going to be one of the ones that are going to end up in your amygdala, and you're going to end up murdering your neighbor in the name of Christ. And you're going to be cast into the darkness for that. So this is the time to go check out the things that I've been telling you. Go look at these earthquake zones. Go look and see if the things that I've been saying aren't true. I'm all about you calling me a liar if you can prove it, but you guys don't even prove it. You're a bunch of scared snakes. I'm just being outright honest. So you either go look and figure this out. I've laid you all kind of proof out everywhere, or you don't. It's your decision. But stop acting like this isn't coming. Because it is. Even if I'm wrong about May 19th, once you see all these things that I've showed you, you will see it's coming. There's no way it's not coming. I could be a false prophet and still give it to you, because my Father gave me things to lead me this direction. I never wanted to be here. I used to work in the mental health field, and I was helping people, and I was doing a job. I loved everybody. I loved my job. But a long time ago, my father made me make him a promise to give me some truth, and he only gave me a little bit then, and then I thought I was crazy because he didn't give me any backup on it, and it didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, when he was ready for me, he went, ta-da, here's the proof. Come on, dude. And now here I am, talking truth. The kind of truth that people like to kill people for. But I'm willing. I'm willing to put my blood above your door. I love your kids, and I love you. I've been talking with a whole tongue, the truth of love and the love of truth. Not because I want to judge you, but because I want to wake you up so that you'll go read what Christ said, do what He asked, and enter my Father's kingdom. If you're a person that did not know Christ, friend, the first will be last, and the last will be first. Come enter the field. Get baptized. Enter my Father's fields. The gospel is what you're supposed to be preaching. The good news. Not the fear of hell, but the love of Christ. The kingdom that you will find if you will do what He asked. So go get the kingdom. Stop preaching fear. Start preaching love. However, as you're preaching love, you're going to have to talk a little bit of this maybe that I'm talking. It just is what it is. My Father will lead you to say the right things to the right people. He has me on this camera because every time I talk to people, they want to crucify me on the spot. This is where I've been sowing my seed, friend, right on the internet. That way you're not so offended at what I say, and you don't want to kill me, and even if you do want to kill me, you have to come hunt me down, and it's a lot of work. It'll make you a serial killer to come do that, right? So you're not going to just kill me without a thought. So it slows down the process, if nothing else. That's a fact, friend. So just know I love you because my Father loves you, period. I'm not doing this and talking about this to scare you. I'm trying to get everybody to prepare to stay in their frontal cortex and not drop into the amygdala, where they're going to be in great fear and do really bad things that they're going to regret. So now's the time. Now's the time to get forgiveness. Get in relationship with my Father so that you have the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit will tell you what to do, and you will walk in faith. Do it, please. I'm asking you kindly. I'm begging you, friend. Please do what Christ asked. I'm begging you. All right, well, just know I love you. May God bless you and yours.